assistive technology. Really what it comes down to here is assistive tech shouldn't be and isn't a separate entity anymore. Used to be. Used to be something that pupil services and the special ed department tracked on their own. But I think we can safely say now that the assistive technology has gone mainstream, and as well as it should. We're finding our classroom teachers, no matter what kind of what kids they have in there, whether they're special needs or AP students or whatever range of kids you have in your classes, all of them in some form or fashion have found that some of the assistive technologies work best with those kids, and we're continuing to explore that as well.
Doug, for those who may not know what assistive technology is, can you give some examples?
It's just simply text-to-speech is one. We have a number of we have a fourth grader at Hopewell Elementary who is handicapped, very hard to speak, but he can have, and I'm going to miss the piece of hardware that he's using, but it's touch type that he can relate and speak to his classroom teachers and his peers because he can't verbalize it himself. Braille writer was another one. We had some sight impaired students that were using that technology.
And I was also wondering how we use it with regular ed and gifted and talented.
We're still exploring those areas right now. I'm not as up to speed on that as in fact we just had a meeting just the other day. We're pushing that envelope. That's part of where we are moving forward right now. Becky Lovett has done a tremendous job from the special ed side of things to bring technology to the forefront for that program, and she's working with us on the ed tech side to see where those marriages can be made. So we're still exploring, still learning. Web 2.0, Web 2.0 was a term coined back in a web conference, actually back in 2004, and the Web 2.0 really is taking an interactive approach, collaborative approach, feedback, given it's a two-way street with web services. Whereas you're not just in a retrieving information mode. You're giving wikis, blogs, Facebook, Flickr, YouTube. Those are all examples that we know of every day of Web 2.0 applications. That's 21st century. That's where we need to start exploring how are we going to use that in our classrooms. So, it's taking a look at some of these goals. We want to reestablish the equipment replacement plan, continue to explore the wireless hardware. We have iTouches. How are we using that? We have a group that meets on a monthly basis, taking a look at how we are using, what kind of apps the Apple iTouches are providing, how are we using them. We had one demonstration from a health teacher at the high school who was using it in terms of dieting and fat testing and calorie intakes. And he was very thrilled to share that with the group. So just one example. We got to take a look at our tech standards and what it really means across the curriculum. Yeah, it's great to say that we can stand here and say our tech standards need to be embedded, but how are we best going to do that? Lori and I have had multiple conversations on that, and it's not just Doug Brower or Lori Barnett, but that's the buy-in of everybody administratively and the whole teaching staff grasping the idea that technology has to be a part of their program. And what is that professional development going to be like for technology, for all of our teachers in form of technology? The technology integration activities with the technology teachers, K through 8, I think is key. They've been doing it for 15 plus years, and we need to get more into an integration model, not a direct instruction model. The video backbone has to be part of this fiber connectivity. We have that at the middle school and the high school with the projectors, everything tied into the TV studio and channel 19, channel 32. That's where we're going with the smart boards as well. The smart boards are going on that video network. They're not a separate entity. So we can use that for video distribution. We can also use it for the everyday applications they have with the Smartboard now with the lesson planning, the student interactivity. The teachers find that the Smartboard is very engaging. And the Web 2.0. What are we going to do with Web 2.0? Because, you know what, quite honestly, some of those areas we filter. We filter in our web filter right now. So as you can see, that with some of the other comments that I have here, you know, what are we going to do? And number one, what are we going to unfilter? Do we turn a blind eye to Facebook and social networking? How do we best teach that to our kids? It exists. Our kids are on it. Do we not address it? How do we address it? These are the kind of questions that we're asking. We filter that now. We filter YouTube for our students. And there's a lot of need. I was in a classroom today in the fish tank at the high school library looking at a class, and they were using Glogster. And they wanted to embed some videos. And some of the work was brought from home because it's all online. It's all web-based. Some kids started this work at home. They embedded the YouTube video, but they couldn't see it here at the high school because we block it. And we block it for a reason, but at the same time, there's a lot of educational value in YouTube as well. So these are some of the issues and policies we got to take a look at. How do we best do that? Cell phones in the classroom. We've had some applications already at the high school in science and in social studies using a cell phone, engaging in some interactivity that went right up to the projector through the website, text messaging. Immediate feedback to the teacher. But we have a no cell phone policy. Mike Dale was a part of that. We notified parents. We went through those procedures. But, I mean, that's a little cumbersome if we're going to move in that direction. We have to do that every single time. Again, we have to take a look at how we're going to address those things. It's not an easy yes or no. Curriculum revisions, embedded in all content areas. Our tech planning. We are now in the middle of our 3-year required New Jersey Department of Ed required technology plan that'll be presented to the board in March, I think it is, Bob, right? And handed to the county superintendent's office later that month, and the state will take a couple months and then approve us. We need to be approved. We have to be approved. It's a mandated document for funding, federal funding, for E-rate funding. And I will say this, and I made this very clear on a couple of occasions recently when we talked about our ed tech planning. And if you go to our website now and you take a look at our technology plan, it's 100 and some pages, including the appendix. A little cumbersome. But the last time I presented to the board when we had the tech plan revised, I came up with 20 important items that tech plan addressed, where we are, where we needed to move to. You take a look at that, was 3.5, almost 4 years ago. You take a look at those 20. That was a real document. That was a live document. It wasn't just for show to hand to the county superintendent's office. We use that. You take a look at that, you see smartboards, you see video backbone, you see fiber, you see curriculum revisions in certain areas that needed to be done. Every one of those were not in existence 3 and 4 years ago, but they were being addressed or have already been addressed. So that was a live working document. That's not just for show. And I want to make that very, very clear. Infinite Campus as a teacher tool. We're continuing to expand Infinite Campus, taking a look at data-driven instruction, data-driven assessments. How are we gonna do that? And that's a conversation actually we'll have in our meeting tomorrow afternoon, I believe, Rich, right? And online courses. We had virtual high school. We're moving more into our option 2 for our seniors at the high school, using EduSiri, which provide us not just the virtual high school, but other online courses as well. If you look on channel 19 and channel 32 on our message board, you'll see that we have a number of listed courses that our kids are taking now. Very interesting breadth of courses, wide range of courses that our kids are taking online now. And that's not a cakewalk either. Those kids are working for it, but they're enjoying it as well. And how are we going to use those websites for as teacher tools? And again, I think that we have something in place where we can move that as a focus not on design, but just getting content in there and getting that out to our parents, our kids, our teachers, and making it a very, very useful tool. So with that, I hope I kept it within my time limit. And, this is always a topic where, what do you include, what don't you include, because I could be honest with you, I could stand up in front of you for a couple hours and talk about anything under the sun in terms of technology here in Hopewell Valley. But I think that gives us a quick overview of where we've been, where we're going, and it's going to be, budget's going to make some decisions for us. We're going to see where our teachers and our committees and our departments move, working with Lori Barnett to get our teachers and our curriculum on board with embedding our new